Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to Avini Vibes. Tonight is Thursday, November 6th, 2025. I'm your host, Christine Rolando from Warwick, New York. And tonight I'm over in another friend's house. I have this reputation of being the dog person. So my friends went to Texas and they asked me if I could sit at their house. This is not the farmhouse with the other three dogs or the cows and the alpacas. These are just two really cool dogs. But the one dog, when I got here this morning, they left at 3 o'clock for the wedding in Texas. I got here and walked in and they hadn't put him in the crates and the dog ate their bed. So there was white fluffy stuff all over the place. So anyway, he's sitting right here looking at me. He's a cool dog, but he's got his own mind. So just so you know, they're going to be in the background with me tonight. But I welcome you if you're a guest. I welcome you to Avini Vibes. We're here tonight. We are here because we're very blessed. If you're here, we know that someone really cares about you because these are the most amazing products, amazing leadership, and the most amazing company that we have with Avini. I do want to make a reminder and a disclaimer that we don't make medical claims and we don't diagnose nor do we treat. We're here to learn, we're here to listen, and we're here to always hear the great stories, amazing testimonials. A couple weeks ago, we did testimonials from the field, and wow, that was like, I think, one of my favorites to hear all the things that are happening in your life and your friends and family's life because you've been bold enough to share Avini with them. Diamond Call on Wednesday. Dave G always does an amazing job. If you didn't hear that, go back and listen to it. And I just again want to welcome tonight somebody that I've gotten to know. We're going to Boca, most of us, or a lot of us, and this is where I met Tony a year ago in Boca, and he and his mom. And I'm just so blessed because he's going to join us tonight. Tony is an entrepreneur, but he's also he and Rick, if you get them in the same room, they're talking science, they're talking
Mhm.
chemistry, they're talking all things. I did a call with the two of them the other day with a client, and boy, oh boy, he can really speak to that level for sure. But tonight we're going to talk to Tony's going to join us. He's a certified health coach, he's an entrepreneur. He lives right down there in Florida by many of you. But Tony is also a graduate from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. And I'm going to let him come for on now and share his story, how and why he got involved in this field. And he's an expert in residual income. So welcome, Tony.
Thank you, Christine. It's good to be here.
Good to have you.
Yeah, so I started as on a whim. My friend was in the health coaching industry, and I don't know what it was about it, but I was just like, yeah, that's something I want to do. It just was like a calling. I don't know if it was, yeah, I guess it was a calling because it was just something that I did. And I thought I was going to learn about like good foods and bad foods, and I was going to have to eat off the list of good foods and never eat off the list of bad foods. But I found out that nutrition and holistic health is so much more than that through these years. And that was over 14 years ago that happened. And back then, I used to think that basically everything could be done with just nutrition. I was a big believer in that like you could literally do everything with nutrition, but I still believe that, but it's a little bit like trying to walk from California to New York. Like can you make the journey? Yeah, but is it likely somebody's going to make that journey? Probably not. They'll probably just turn around and go home. And so that's when I started realizing that there is scientific things out there that don't necessarily have to be, especially they don't have to be anything like pharmaceutical. They don't have to be something that has side effects, but there can be scientific things out there, technologies that can make your life better without the side effects of pharmaceuticals. And that's where I started really looking into things like Cell Defender because for me, there's nothing more important than protecting yourself. One of the most important things is protecting yourself from heavy metals. And before the Cell Defender, there was not really an easy way to do that. There was a lot of different methods that people have, but a lot of them, you have to go to a thing to do, or you have to like do a cleansing. It's not something you just take every day and protect, you keep yourself protected. So that's really what drew my eye to it. And then the silver, the mind division. There's so many great products that have been out. The trim science, and then my one of my personal favorites is the pet blend, the pet product for the Cell Defender because there's so many, the quality of health or the quality of pet food is so much lower because they don't necessarily care what goes into pet foods as much in terms of heavy metals. I mean, they pretend that they do, but really they're giving these animals like the leftovers basically out of these farm processes very often. And we want the fact that there's something out there now that can actually you can just give it to your cat or dog every day and it can protect them against all these things. It's even like the can you get it out of. I mean, that's aluminum right there, every day. So I just love the fact that Avini has something like this. And I also love the fact that it's a single ingredient product. That's one of the other things that I love about it, that there so many products out there have like 4 or 5 different ingredients that you don't even know what they are, but they're just in there for some reason. The Cell Defender is one thing. It's the clinoptilolite and it's been reduced and it's cleaned out, but it's just that one thing. Same with the silver. And I love that about these products. And even the Mind and Vision is doesn't have these the flow agents. So when you put things into a capsule, normally companies use things like sawdust and things like that when you can't quite fill the capsule all the way. Well, Avini doesn't do that. Avini actually fills the capsule all the way. And the flow agent, the thing to get it to flow into the capsule, is often other companies use all these different things that you don't really know what they are necessarily. Avini uses the detoxylate, the thing that we're known for, in as the flow agent, which I think is super, super cool. And it really, really makes a big difference for people who look at those things, you know? Plus, they use the entire capsule full of the stuff that they say is in there. They don't have to put sawdust or anything else, which is also great. So, um, yeah, that's basically how I kind of came, thankfully Christine, I got to know Christine and through this process and really I've had a lot of people now get amazing results with the Cell Defender. I will say for me personally, one of the great results that I remember when I started taking it, I actually I stopped myself in my tracks. I was visiting Las Vegas at the time. And when you're in a new place, you kind of like look around and you see all these things. And I'm like, am I seeing more clearly? Is that like a thing with this Cell Defender stuff? I actually stopped in my tracks. I went on my phone and I Googled it. I was like, is that even possible for the clinoptilolite to help vision? And then I asked Rick about it, and he's like, "Yeah, no, we found that for people that they actually get more clear vision for." He's guessing it's because the liver is cleaned out more, and so the eyes have less stuff to deal with, so that the eye gets clear. But for whatever reason is, I just went to my optometrist the other day, and he's literally like, "Your vision and has gotten better since the last time, like based on what these glasses for seeing far away, like it's better than that." So I will say that's like one of the most amazing things that I've noticed with it is that fact that my vision has improved. And
Well, Tony, the other day when we did the call with Rick and he talked about the eye being the only organ that's exposed to the outside world, right?
right,
And the
he
liver with
said
the
that. And it's the only
glutathione.
living organ that's exposed to the outside world. Yeah, everything else, like hair, everything else is somehow dead. Even like the skin cells, like they're not necessarily as alive on the top as they are like internally. I don't know. That's what he was
Right.
saying. But the eye is like absolutely living, absolutely exposed, and probably accumulates a lot of toxins that way too. I can imagine. So
Well, I
having the
just made
cell
my eye exam today because I want to be like you. So
defender.
I
Great.
haven't been in a few years. So I made my
Yeah.
appointment today because of that conversation. But Tony, keep going on the products a little bit, but I also wanted to hear, wanted to hear about like your thoughts on the business. If
Okay.
we have plenty of time. So we want to
Yeah,
hear a little bit about the
absolutely.
residual in like what you was attracted you to that portion of it.
100%. So I love consumable products. I mean, I know a lot of people out there who are selling devices nowadays, and many of them have actually said, I'm so tired of this because you sell a device one time, you make your money, but you have to spend the rest of your life looking for new people to sell devices to. When we have with Avini is consumable products that are unique and you can't get anywhere else. So basically, the Cell Defender, if you really want to detox yourself off of heavy metals, and if you really get into like the audience that really wants that, they want to do that every day, every month. They're not going to say, well, t this month I just don't feel like detoxing, you know? Not if you understand what heavy metals do to your body long term. Even, and this is an aside, but even something like rice, you may not know, has tons of arsenic in it, where long term, it's really not that great for you. It's the inorganic arsenic too, which is like the worst kind. It stays in your body. So if you have rice, that's a great time to especially take more of the cell defender because you really want to get that arsenic out of your body. So why wouldn't you? I mean, who doesn't have, I mean, so many people out there have rice on a regular basis, you know? So we want, that's the beauty of the this model with consumable products that, and the best part is Avini's consumable products. I mean, a bottle of Cell Defender is less than $100 a month. That's extremely affordable for many people. And um, all it takes is that one bottle to really possibly, make a huge, huge difference for your entire life if you take it long term. Not possibly, even probably. We have the clinical studies to show it. And then you still add the silver where you get rid of the living issues like the bacteria and the funguses and the parasites and all that. Who wouldn't want to do that every month? So the fact that you get a chance to do that with people. Now, the one thing I will say is when you're dealing with a residual income kind of business, what you don't want to do is say, all right, well, I told you about the Cell Defender, you signed up for it. Now I'm going to go live my life and hopefully you'll keep ordering. You really want to, in my opinion, keep in touch with those people. In fact, one of the best touch points that I found for myself is you call them a week after they've ordered to make sure that they've received their product and again to go over with them how to take it. Because often sometimes people will get it and be like, why did I even get this? I forgot everything already. And then you want to at least call them right before their first subscription goes out to make sure that they're ready for it. They may not be, and that's okay. You can postpone it. Don't be afraid that they're going to say, "Oh, I need to postpone it," or "I'm not ready." That's much better than getting it, having them get it and not be ready for it, and then calling the company and canceling on you. So, keeping in touch with people is, I always say the reason we get paid every month to do this work is because, in my opinion, is because you ostensibly keep in touch with the people who you have talked to about it so that they keep getting benefits. That's just my personal take on it. Just if you want a tip on how to keep customers for life, you probably want to develop relationships with them outside of just selling it to talking to them about it once and then hoping for the best.
And Tony, you're
Um,
very good at that. I have to
yeah,
say,
thank you.
you're really very, very good at that. He gets a 10 in that area because remember, he and I met through something else. And I remember him always calling me, calling me, calling me. How are you doing? How's your husband? How's this? Like always remember those personal details. And then, of course, you saw the benefit to Cell Defender and said, you
Yeah,
and your
yeah.
mom is a genius, just like she raised you well. And I
Yeah.
remember Tony coming to Boca, and he didn't come. They didn't come till the very end of the last 5 minutes of the conference. Remember that?
Yeah.
And
We
MJ
thought it
Durkin.
was going to be like a meet and greet. We didn't realize it was like a whole thing. But it caught my attention enough, the whole heavy metal. And that's what's another thing that's so cool about Avini is that it doesn't take very long with the right person. All you got to
Mm,
do is say this detoxes you from heavy metals. And what's important is too that it's not a cleation process. See, most heavy metal detoxes out there are painful because you have to it's almost like you don't have a lake bed on the bottom, it's like all still, but you're like kicking up the dirt in the lake and now it's all the water is cloudy. That's like your blood now. All that heavy metals is through your blood and it's like in your system as you're cleating. And yes, you do expel it, but you have to deal with that detox that whole time, that muddy water, so to speak. With Avini, you don't deal with any of that, which is very rare. I'm telling you, most people when they hear, oh, there's no detox, they're like, really? Because I just went through, the ringer a little while ago with my detox with my cleation. So that's another reason. Who wants to feel like that all the time? Like even if you are big on cleation, you don't really want to go through that detox every day or every month or whatever. So the Avini, because it captures things into those cages, there's actually no detox process. It's like a vacuum that just goes around collecting heavy metals. Another thing that's cool is that it leaves your good metals alone, which I can't necessarily say for cleation. I think cleation basically often also depletes you of all of your metals, not just the bad ones. And so you could potentially be missing now magnesium, calcium, potassium, all sorts of things in your body because you didn't because you just cleaned everything out. Whereas with the Vini, you have these tiny little cages that are only big enough for the heavy metals, and possibly things also like microplastics. Rick was saying that it could actually work with that too. But you just get all that other stuff out that you don't want, and you keep the stuff that you do need. So that's another great part about it.
back to your animals, your animals. I don't know about
Yes.
you. I've mentioned this before, but I have found, I use it with all my animals, my horses,
Hmm.
the sheep, everything. But what I did find, and I think Tony, you and I agreed on this, my cat changed personalities, become cuddlier and friendlier. Didn't you say that
Yeah,
to me too at one point?
absolutely. Yeah, my cat is very skittish, but she has changed, I will say. Like she for the first time isn't as scared as she used to be. And it's even like she'll like let me like lift her up and like snuggle. Like it used to not be like that. She used to just like be so scared and like she didn't like any like interaction. Um so there is something to, and I know, I mean, I'm sure with the food nowadays, even if you try really hard with cat foods, even just like I said, the can is aluminum, but even beyond that, all those heavy metals with those animals often accumulate into those parts that they grind up into the animal foods.
Mm.
So keeping animals healthy is really, really important. And it's just so comforting. The peace of mind to know that you're doing for your animals things that they ordinarily wouldn't really be able to get done. I mean, how are you going to detox your cat from heavy metals otherwise, So it's wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you, Tony. Does anyone want to ask Tony a question before I know he's got to go in a few minutes? So, and I don't want to cut you off, Tony, but
No,
I
no,
want to
no.
just give it people to have
Yeah.
opportunity if they want to ask you a question. I think Chip does. Chip,
Yeah, yeah. Hi, Tony.
Hi.
I'm tickled to. I didn't know which Tony was going to be on tonight, and I'm thrilled it's you. I remember being in Lori Wallace's clinic, and you and your mom, or you were there. I
Yeah,
met
I
your
was
mom the
there.
night before, and you guys are both industry professionals. I knew that, but you were very quiet that day. And so you were kind of maybe in decision mode. I don't know, but I, I I'm so thrilled to run into you as a speaker tonight. I had three things I wanted to recognize in what you said. cool detail, and I should have caught this because I've worked as a capsule filler in a compounding pharmacy. The stuff that you carry and it has to have some weight. It has to be able to not, volatilize off, has to be consistent so that every capsule is the exact same weight. And detoxolite, one of the, historical uses was to get animal feed to go through machines without sticking
Mm,
to it and have a little weight to it.
yeah.
Just for example, so it is a perfect flow agent. And I
Yeah.
hadn't really thought of that as a point to bring up. And then, so there's, the thing that's in there for that purpose also has huge benefits. So you just
Exactly.
don't find that.
No,
And
you
so that's
don't.
brilliant. I
Yeah.
hadn't really had that point before. Um, the other thing, a couple other things I wanted to point out. I was speaking to a group one time. I mentioned, just like you just did, the vision thing, and
Hmm.
that people's eyes would look brighter, and that iridologists would be able to read them, and their health would improve in the view of the iridologist.
Yeah.
And just mentioned that kind of like you just did. Well, this particular group that was listening that day took that idea and ran with it. And what they started doing was each new person, they took a picture of their eyes. And after they had been in for a couple of months, they took a picture of their eyes again. And the white
Mm.
was whiter, the color was brighter. The iridologist, gave them a better score. And so
Wow.
to take your testimony you just gave, you could do that with people. Hey, take a picture of your
Absolutely.
eyes and expect them. Expect them,
Absolutely.
same thing with your teeth, and everything else, but that's something you can take a picture of. I wanted to do one more thing with you before I hog all your time. What you so beautifully described, the difference between chelation and what is done with Rick's product. And
Yep.
there's actually a word for it. And you said it goes in, it's sequestered within a crystal. Well, that process is called clathration. So
Oh,
old
okay.
chelation is now antiquated, and all
Yeah.
those problems you described takes the good along with the bad. You got to go in and have a needle stuck in your arm, and you don't feel good, and all
No.
that stuff. All that's gone, and the new word is not chelation. It's now clathration, a
Clathration.
gigantic breakthrough in that area.
Yeah.
So
That's great.
whenever we're speaking about any one of our products, we wouldn't have it if there wasn't a gigantic breakthrough in that product. The
Yep.
mind and vision that let Tony see better, you know, and I guess maybe that happened
Well,
with just Cell Defender.
that's the thing. It was just with Cell Defender that I started. I take the Mind Division now. I'm sure it's contributed greatly as
Yeah,
well. But just with that Cell Defender, I started seeing, and I knew it was like visual. It was enough to where I had to stop and Google it because I was like, "Is this? Am I like imagining this? Like, you know, it was that extreme, pretty much." So,
that's awesome. And
yeah,
just once again, thrilled to run into you here tonight. And
thank you.
stay in touch.
Likewise.
Use me if you
Yeah.
need me.
By the way, one other thing I'll say real quick is if you want to take more of it for some reason, take it after you urinate. Every time you urinate the cell defender, you can take more of it. That way you get the most out of it without taking it where it's not effective. So that's one more important thing. Yeah.
Great. All right. Thank you, Chip. Tyrell, you have a question. Why don't you unmute and then Novella, I'll ask Tony the question that you put in the chat before he goes. Tyrell, you just got to unmute, please.
Yes, ma'am. How we doing? It's good to see y'all
Welcome.
again. Um,
Welcome.
Tony, there was a couple of things that really stood out to me. I ain't gonna lie, the whole sawdust and the fill thing was kind of mind blowing to me because I knew they use fillers, but
Hmm.
that was just an interesting thing that you pointed out. But my question to you was two questions rather. One, how long were you taking the products before you really started noticing those changes, like to the point where like it changed your or affected your vision or improved your vision rather? And or I'll let you answer that one.
Yeah, so it couldn't have been it was less than 3 months, I will say. See, the thing is also like when you're at home, you kind of see the same old, but when you're traveling, you use more of your eyes to look around. So like when I was traveling, that was when I really noticed it more. But I would say it happened really quickly. I mean, probably less than 3 months. I'd have to look like when I went to Las Vegas, which um it depends on the person too, but I would
Right.
say you will start noticing results. Like I'm sure the clinical studies, normal clinical studies are all usually done on 3 month basis for a lot of things. So I always say give it a good 3 months, whatever you do. But I would always say too, if you really want to see how something works, give it a year. Give it a good year, because at that point you will definitely know how it's working personally. That's what I would.
And then the second question I had was, um, you said, when you start I know everybody can benefit and everybody needs these products. Um, was there anything that you did specifically, whether it was marketing strategy? I know one of the things that you said was building relationships with them, following
Yep.
up. But was there anything else that you did to initiate or kind of pull out the ones that would truly take it seriously? Because everybody's limited on time, and it'll
Right.
take us a lifetime to talk to 300 plus million people in America.
A hundred
Um,
percent, which is why I'll answer your first part too, because Novella asked the same thing, kind of, do you have a system for follow-ups? If so, what is it? And what, so I'm just going to answer that. I'm telling you right now, if you incorporate calling somebody when they first order, the week after they first order, and then just call them randomly, tell them, I'm going to call you at 7 p.m. on, in the next week. Does that work for you? Have them say, yes, it does. Then call them, and I like to do it the same time of day that I'm talking to them now. So if it's like a Thursday at 4 p.m., I'll say, can I call you next week at 4 on Thursday? Just because usually if they're not doing anything then, they're probably not doing anything in a week. So then, and that call, I call them and I say, okay, this is how you take everything in. Now I'm gonna call you in 3 weeks. Let's set up a time. Again, I do the same day of the week and I do the same time in 3 weeks. And it's right before their subscription goes out, so that if they still need to change it or whatever, you can still change it with them. Even if you just do that one thing for the first month, that will completely change your business. Now, if you continue that month to month, not like the first week thing, but monthly calls after that, every single month, right before their subscription goes out, you call them and you make sure that they're ready for their subscription. You will have customers love you because no one likes getting a subscription that they're not ready for.
right.
So, and you develop relationships. You show them that you really care if they're getting results. I use my calendar, my Google Calendar. If I put everything in my calendar, I see every day I have this call, this call, this call, and guess what? It's a 5 minute call, guys. Don't worry, it's not gonna, you have time to do other things in your life. You can even space them out every 15 minutes. You don't have to even reserve the whole hour, but it's just the touch point that people will really, really appreciate, and also if you have like 5 customers, you have the time to kind of take care of them more too. So I basically do what I do is the same day of the week. So if it's like today is November 6th, right? And it's 8 p.m. and it is a Thursday, right?
Yeah.
So I'll look and I'll do the 13th is the follow-up call. I'll say 8 p.m. work for you. And then I'll look from 3 weeks from then, and that happens to be December 4th. It's a Thursday. Guess what? December 4th is 2 days away from December 6th, which is when their subscription process is. So you have 2 full days if they don't answer or something to get in touch with them before their subscription. And that's what I do. That's my method of doing it.
So, but I guess what I'm asking is, what do you do to, I guess, break the ice or even to
Yeah.
get them to that initial conversation to
Yeah.
even consider it?
That's a great question. You kind of have to feel them out a little bit because some people don't care about heavy metals, right? And those
Right.
people are harder. So you want to, there's a lot of things you can do. I like one nice thing is meetup.com. Meetup.com is a great website because there's people who play board games on there. They meet up for drinks. They do all sorts of things that you can go to those places and you can just start conversing with people. I went to one once in New York and I met this guy and I started talking to him. And to this day, we're friends. To this day, I talk to him from that meetup, and he's a customer, of mine. So you never know who you're gonna meet. But I would listen for if they're into health, if they care about heavy metals, if they care about their health, and if you do, the Avini's a really easy one because to detox heavy metals, I mean, the people who care about that, they're willing to spend the money for something that's so easy as just,
Right.
dropping something in your mouth twice a day or in your coffee or something.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Tony. Any other one last question before Tony has to hit the road? I don't can't see the whole screen, so if you do, just unmute. Novella. Oh, thank you. Yes, Novella. Yeah,
Tony,
Tony is very good at what he does. I have to say, he's not only very good, he's great at what he does because his spirit too. He's got a gentle, kind, caring spirit. I know that's even like his mannerism on the phone is just like, it's just you're very, very well versed in the way he presents himself in a very kind manner. And that's it. Like, and I know Laviniites come from a sincere heart, right? And
Yeah.
that's what we all have to do, like you just said. Truly. Oh,
Yeah.
Hannah's got a comment or a
yeah,
question.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Hannah.
Tony, I would love to know what are your favorite tools to send somebody or a video?
Yeah, what I love about Avini's website is they have amazing videos and tools right there under the product. So I I'm always very upfront with what things cost too. I think that it's a good conversation to have right away. Don't shy away from the price. The price is around $75 after shipping for the Cell Defender. And that's a great price to protect yourself from heavy metals, right? And if they want to know more, you send them the link with the video. And since you've already talked about the price, that's not going to scare them away. It would if you don't say it. I'm a believer that you want to not surprise them. Like,
Mhm.
don't not say it and then have them find out by clicking on the link. Just be honest, say like, hey, this costs $75 after shipping. And the reason why it's so effective is because it really traps these heavy metals and you don't go through the nucleation. And then Rick really explains it really well in the videos. Christine, I don't know if you have other resources for people too.
Well, I think that we have so many resources, it can be overwhelming, but I always say keep it simple.
Yeah.
Use the Rick video, the 5-minute video, the 11-minute video. And I like what Tony said, listen, right? We have two ears and one mouth. Listen for what their interest is, their pain point of how, I always try to listen, well, how can I help them solve their problem?
Yeah.
When I meet somebody, they had a problem, and a lot of
You
times
know,
people want to share that with you when they
that's
trust
actually a perfect, I was referred this woman, Lori, from a friend who was just like, she handed me her business card. And I called her about something completely different. And then when she wasn't really interested in that, I was like, well, I'm actually going to this thing it's for heavy metals, and it's actually right across the street from you if you want to join me. And she's like, absolutely. I'm all about heavy metals and all this stuff. And she literally is now all about it. So if I hadn't listened or if I just was like, oh, well, she's not interested, I'm just gonna, no, but when somebody's not, I immediately think like, okay, so if that's not it, what, like, let me see. And if you listen, and then you also kind of have to test the waters. Like you can say like, well, there is something that I work with. If they mention something like I work with kids who have who I'm trying to make healthy in some way, you can listen for those things, and then if they say something like that, be like, well, One of the big things is heavy metals, nowadays, because that's in everything and it can affect learning and all this stuff. So that can be a way of listening. Also, be per, don't per, make sure the person's listening is prepared. Why it doesn't work necessarily to walk into a doctor's office, even if they're like a naturopath, in the middle of their workday and be like, hey, hi, I have heavy metals for you, a detox for you, is because their listening isn't prepared in that moment to hear you, right? They're thinking about their clients, they're thinking about a billion other things. So you want to make sure that you're speaking to somebody when they're in a space that they're available to hear you too.
Great point. Great point. Thank you, Tony. We kept you
Yeah.
more than eight
Yeah,
eight
I
o'clock.
appreciate
So,
it. Yeah. Thank you,
I know you
everyone.
have to jump on a call.
Yeah,
We'll see
I
you
do.
soon.
Thank you so much. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you for
Bye.
Thanks.
sharing.
Thanks.
Thank
Great
you.
Absolutely.
job.
Thank
See
you.
you
Yeah.
Good
next week.
information.
Yeah, and he's so genuine, he's so humble, but I have to tell you, that's what he did. He set up those appointments. Now that I think of that, he set up those appointments with me, called Lori out of Lori came to Boca for the first corporate conference. She walked through the
Yeah,
door, right, Chip? And Tony wasn't even
absolutely.
there yet. He said,
Yeah,
this
and
lady, Lori's
I
coming. I don't know what she looks like, but she's coming. And Chip and I landed her at the door and welcomed her, and now she's a
yeah,
gold executive.
got to go to her clinic, got to go through what she does for people, and have gotten to work with her quite a bit. Actually, I've got to work with her more than I have Tony, which is kind of neat. And then I did want to just give a compliment to everyone that sets up Avinia Vibes and that attends. You got a great presentation tonight. A brand new guy that first time I've heard him speak to an Avini group, and did a beautiful job. We continue to grow. 45 people on Avini Vibes tonight. Thank you so much for participating, and I really enjoy this particular evening, and thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, Chip. And again, thank you everyone for being here this evening. We'll look forward to see you next week. Okay. God bless you. Have a good night. Carol, you still with us?
All right, good night.
Good night.